And I'm joined by Garna, Texas.
Hey, I'm Garna, Texas. Darren's gonna be doing Circle of the Moon, Fighter Mode, all bosses.
So I'm going to be doing Circle of the Moon, fighter mode, all bosses.
Oh, wow.
And to start a fighter mode playthrough, you have to input this special file name, Gradius. There's several different modes you can play in this game after you beat each one successfully. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Garn can do the honors. Give me a countdown.
Alright, I'll start from 5. We'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. As Darren alluded to at the bit when he was starting off, that he put in a special file name for fighter mode. The tradition to Castlevania games, you either get different modes or other characters to play as, and in this game that just means you get altered stats or other abilities. Fighter mode is the second one you unlock, and fighter mode increases your strength by 2 times as well as your defense and health, so you essentially deal twice as much damage and take 4 times less. But the caveat to that is you can't use any magic. Normally there's a card system set up that you use in order to cast spells in this game, but it's completely disabled in fighter mode, whereas in the mode previous to this one, magician mode, you have access to all the magic at the beginning. And to start off the run, like, Darren's going to be going to our first boss, but along the way he's going to be killing some pretty specific monsters. He's killing these bats particularly to hope for some wristbands. Those increase your strength and are very important for the early bosses because they don't have a lot of defense. So every little bit, even a 5 strength bonus from one of the wristbands, will help cut down the amount of attacks that Darren will have to do. The other monsters that are being taken out along the way are for experience, and they help get a level up shortly before the boss fight as well. The first item Darren got there was the dash boots. In this game, the movement is actually very different. It's different from any other Castlevania speedrun, basically, where normally, in other Castlevania games, you would do some sort of backdash canceling, but in this game, the dash boots are your main focus of movement, and basically what you do is you double tap the direction you'd like to dash in. It is essentially 2 times your normal walking speed, but there's also other movement options like sliding that you saw at the beginning, and later on we'll get another item called the tackle and other things like that. And Darren picking up that level up there, ready and primed for the boss fight.
Yeah, I feel like double tap dashing can be kind of a turnoff for a lot of people. I can see why. It gets a little. It can be kind of tedious in a lot of games where it's implemented. But the nice thing about this game is you actually can conserve your dash in a lot of different ways without actually having to press the double tap. Oh, red boys.
Cerberus fight is pretty straightforward. In fighter mode, there's not a whole lot to worry about. He'll change between one of 2 colors. The red one, shoot a laser out at you, and the blue one is gonna electrify you.
Yeah, ideally we'd want the blue phase because we can get enough hits in to kill Cerberus before he switches to anything else. You can still kill him in the red phase, but it's a little more difficult.
Yeah, within 1 cycle, that is. An important thing to keep track of for playing this route is knowing where to pick up big hearts, because hearts are essentially your ammo for the sub-weapons that you pick up. He's picking up the holy water now, or I assume so. I'm a little behind, I'm sure.
I've forgotten it a lot before, so it's a good question.
So the holy water, it's actually not that useful for boss fights in this game, unfortunately, but it saves a little bit of time climbing up this stairway that we're going now. And like I mentioned with the hearts being your ammo, and knowing where to pick them up quickly just allows you to flow through the castle much more easily too. So here are the first uses of the holy water. They don't save a whole lot of time, but they're really nice to just keep the movement going. Darren's also been picking up, is going to be picking up these heart maxes. They increase your total heart count by 6, and they just help you also have more ammo for the later bosses specifically. And just like going to the Cerberus fight, Darren will also be fighting and killing other monsters along the way in order to gain experience so he can level up, I think 2 times before Necromancer.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the early game is like some level routing, whereas when we get to the later sections, it's not quite as important anymore.
Right. The Necromancer fight, it's incredibly important to get these 2 level ups too.
Yeah.
Because the strength boost you get can help you skip cycles, and we have a tradition when we're racing that whenever we get one of the bad cycles in Necromancer, we like to imitate the noise it makes, and I hope y'all forgive me if we end up getting one of those bad cycles.
We have to do it in sync with each other.
Well, I'm like 5 seconds behind.
Oh
least.
Yeah. That's right. No.
I'm sorry,
That was
Frank.
my one dream. But I've said it before, but the move that the Necromancer has, it's kind of like a mix between a Storm Eagle dive from Mega Man X and a Chill Penguin slide, because he's invincible during the slide, and it's kind of flying all around the room like a Storm Eagle dive, so it's the best of both worlds.
The absolute best.
Wastes a lot of time. And you can't get very many hits off before he starts doing it, so potentially do quite a few of them.
Yeah, you can chain them together without any discrepancy.
Oh, I'm glad I got back on that ledge. You'll see why. For the band!
For the band! The Necromancer fight is a little tricky. You have to time your whip hits and also throw the crosses, but you want to throw the crosses when he's at the peak of his rotation, flying around.
Axes.
Did I say axes?
Yeah, you said crosses.
Crosses, yep, those items.
It's okay.
Yeah, that way they do double hits. And Necromancer in the second phase can either summon skeletons or do the Storm Evil dive thing, but Darren was lucky and spared you all, like he always is.
World record pace. Let's go.
No big deal. Darren's going to be picking up the next item, our special item, the tackle. It may not have been obvious at first, but this game is laid out very much like a Metroid map in that you have these kind of locking keys, and these little blocks here that he's running into, the tackle that he just picked up was the key to that lock in that sense. But the tackle also serves an extra purpose. It can also damage enemies, but it helps move a little bit faster. If you tackle off of a ledge, you move just a tiny bit faster because at the very end of the tackle, normally you suffer some slowdown with like the somersault that you do. But if you run off an edge, you cancel that animation entirely. So pretty much anytime Darren is going to be running off of an edge, he will be tackling off of that to save some precious frames.
Precious frames. I'm pretty sure you tested it, right? It was, if you're at the very exact position you need to be, it's 6 or 7 frames each time.
Yeah, it's about 6 frames. There's some instances where sliding is better, but almost only if you're going the opposite direction when you go off your ledge. But disregarding that, we're now in the machine tower, pretty much required for any Castlevania game, any sort of clock tower area. And Darren's going to be making these pretty tight cycles. We call what'd you start calling up, Darren?
This is the Texas two-step.
The Texas two-step. I wonder why.
Alright, I got him too. Nice.
Very nice. Very well done. Those cycles can be really challenging to make, and the machine tower, I mean, you fall down and it's so demotivating sometimes, but getting both of them like that is very good.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those areas for casual playthroughs that can be quite frustrating.
It's also kind of a difficulty spike. There's a lot more different kinds of monsters around the area too.
Yeah.
And pretty much from this point forward, not a whole lot more monster slaying, but Darren's picking up the most powerful sub-weapon here with the cross, and he will be murdering everything in sight with them. Iron Golem, kind of a derpy boss, he just walks forward. This is what Nathan would look like if he didn't get those damage.
Yeah, true enough. That was a good fight.
Easy game.
Yeah, the cross is like especially effective in this game because the boss patterns, they kind of like move in a way that you can get like a lot of hits all at once. As you saw with Iron Golem, obviously walking forward, it's perfect for the cross to go in, or come out and come back in, get a bunch of hits all at once.
Right, so the placement of the crosses, you want to, or boomerangs as a lot of people call them, you want to place them so that when it ricochets, when it rebounds, you also get the full amount of hits on the way back too. Oh, no
dang.
stop.
Almost.
Oh.
Hey, what is that? What is that? Oh, just a heart.
If you get a heart drop, just a fun fact about this game, if you get a heart drop from a monster, that means that you would have gotten the card item that they dropped. But in fighter mode, since you can't get any cards, if you hit that drop table, you will always get the heart. It's actually pretty convenient. Some monsters that you fight along the way for certain parts, you intentionally kill some monsters in hopes of getting a heart item from them. And from this point forward, pretty much any monster that Darren kills, he's expecting a drop from, or would hope for a drop from. This next section, also a pretty big difficulty spike in a normal playthrough, holds a very valuable ring. One of two very, very valuable rings that I'm pretty sure he's going to get one of them because it's a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, I ran this game at GDQX. Was it last year? I think it was last year, or the year before. It was definitely last year, but I ended up actually getting a strength ring in my run, and the odds of getting a strength ring are very, very, very low in fighter mode, so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the drop rates for this game are not kind to you at all. This game can be very grindy if you intend to get items from monsters.
Yeah, but the top two times, Garnetex's, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
What is a 36-34?
36-30 something.
Yeah, and then I also have a 36 3x, and they both have strength ring drops in the run, so getting a top time in this game pretty much requires it now.
Right. It's a little unfortunate when a run comes down to, like, if you want to improve your time when it comes down to an RNG drop like that, but this category specifically has a lot of consistency to it, so even if you don't get one of these strength rings or curse rings or something in these earlier parts of the run, it's not like a big deal. It just means you're maybe losing out on 30 or more seconds here and there, like by the end of it.
Yeah.
This category is the model of consistency for a Castlevania speedrun, really. You have so much health. There's one glitch, and it's not even costly if you miss it. It's pretty much how far you want to push it, and even then, there are some safety nets that are, what would you call it? That are like required pretty much anyway, or just help you move along the castle anyway. Like there's some, like Darren's at low health right now. He hasn't tapped a single save point or anything like that yet. But along the way, he'll be picking up an HP max, or the purple drink that we like to call. Like the heart maxes he's had picked up before then.
Yeah, ideally, like with the routing, you'd want to pick up HP maxes on the way instead of tapping save points. For the most part, there are obviously sometimes where the save point is faster, but could be. Is there? I don't actually know.
I mean, it's only so the point I was going to get to with that is some of the HP maxes also have other things with them, like the one that I think you're gonna pick up the one before Adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one you could kill the bear and/or hyena for a potential strength drop, and then another one later down near the end of the game, you get at least a heart drop in that room as well, and it resets the cycles of the monsters when you exit the room. Oh, nice. This section of the run has a lot of pretty interesting movement. These swords will home in on you, on your location, and will attack you. And if your movement is a little bit off, they can really mess you up. And so moving through this section is kind of challenging. It's not too hard, but if once you get it consistently, it looks so smooth.
Yeah. That was a really slick double back dash.
And if you thought Iron Golem was intimidating, then I think you'll feel safe with the Dremelek, because the Dremelek doesn't even move. He just kind of sits there and takes it. Very good fire dodges.
Yeah, for some reason I threw a whip out there. I don't know. I thought I was holding up.
For good measure. After the Adremelek fight, you don't actually get a key item or something of that like that. You just unlock a path, 2 paths really. And from here, the route splits. For the majority of the time, unless you were to get like incredible luck and get a strength ring or even 2, who knows, man. Unless you get 1 or 2 of those, you will be going to fight Camilla in the underground waterway. Normally, she's an endgame boss. She's the second to the last. Yes, normally the second to the last, well, third to the last boss you would fight, because the area surrounding going towards her boss fight is poison, bloody. What say you? I don't know. And you will take damage if you're standing in the water. However, you can run through it without taking too much damage, and especially in fighter mode, where taking a hit in that area doesn't matter too much anyway. You can get through there without too much trouble, as long as you know where you're going.
Yeah, for a while this route wasn't something that we did very often. I think that was only because fighter mode hadn't been given much treatment in terms of like optimization, I guess. Nowadays, for sure, we definitely go to Camilla early, unless, like Garn said, you get some sort of crazy luck with strength drops.
Right. And the main reason that we do that, we go to Camilla early, is so that we can get Camilla's a pretty easy boss fight if you know where to place your crosses. Like I mentioned before, when you place them where when they rebound, they do a lot more hits. Camilla's boss fight, her hitbox is huge, so if we have enough hearts, then you can basically, and you know how to dodge all of her attacks. They're generally pretty slow moving. You can fight her pretty easily. Whereas the boss we're going for now, it can be a mess.
Yeah, that's definitely the big reason, is because generally you'd be going to the zombie dragon, actually, is the next boss, like intended next boss, but he's very, very RNG heavy. Yeah. It's best to have a lot more strength going into it.
So there's some pretty specific movements. Darren will be jumping a lot to avoid damage from this water blood. I'm just going to call it water. Nathan doesn't like taking showers, and so the water hurts him. Yeah, but Darren will be jumping a lot to avoid damage from it. It does 1/100th of your health, basically, for each like damage tick it does. And so if you're just standing in it, you'll die. Like, there's no doubt in how threatening it can be. Oh, we missed the glitch.
That's the tough glitch, man. I don't know if I've ever actually missed that in a run. That's kind of funny. Yeah, something I always like to mention about this area is that, like, when I was younger, my first playthrough, I went to this area first instead of going to death, which is where you're supposed to go to get the cleansing tab and turn the water back to blue so it doesn't damage you. But you can actually go to that area after Zombie Dragon instead of coming here. And for some reason, I like couldn't find the underground warehouse where death is, so I was just like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing now. It's just funny now that I'm older and doing speedruns of this game that this is actually part of the fighter mode route.
Feels natural, yeah.
Yeah.
And death is kind of tucked away in a corner of the castle that you have access to, like, the area, but you can't get to death's like area yet until much later. So it's pretty easy to forget too.
Yeah, it's like you go there and you realize that there's a push block down there, and then like later on after you fight zombie dragons, it's almost as if you forget that that like little area even existed.
This game doesn't do a whole lot to convey which direction you're supposed to go next. It's a very maze-like game, and I guess a lot of the Castlevanias are like that. You get an upgrade or something, and it's not always very obvious where you need to go.
Yeah.
Darren's movement's really solid, no real troubles. The waterway, really good.
This game's easy, bro.
It's just too good. Darren, don't you have a record in this game?
I've got that. Yeah, magician mode.
Oh, not the fighter mode?
And completionist.
Oh yeah, completion, man.
Uh,
Yeah, as I mentioned before, the Camilla fight, if you place her crosses right, there's not a whole lot of variation to this fight. She can choose one of three attacks one of three choices when she reaches the end of the room. And all three of them are fine. You can deal a lot of damage to her. As you can tell, these crosses are just tearing into her anyway. Even with what's going on here, it's not too much to worry about.
oh. Goodness. I got it on the last cross.
Very good.
Song in video game history. As the what is it called? It's the Alucard song from Castlevania 3.
It's not Awakening, is it? No,
No,
that's the Catacomb song.
it's the level where you get Alucard in Castlevania 3, like the underground cave place.
Don't tell anyone, but I've never played Castlevania 3.
Oh, snap. On everybody.
Darren, you've been playing this game for a while. How'd you get into it?
I originally got into this game because I was invited to do like a Castlevania relay back in the day, and there wasn't very many takers for Circle of the Moon. Really, there wasn't any. At the time, I think Brandon Scott Hill was the only one that was known of.
Yeah.
Obviously besides you, but I don't know if the person organizing it knew that you were around. But I got asked, and I was like, man, I haven't played Castlevania Circle of the Moon in a very long time. And that would be kind of fun, just to like casually play it. Turns out when I did that, I never actually did just like do a casual play. I just looked at your tutorial for Vampire Killer. I'm like, all right, I'm doing that instead. So that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
It wasn't even a speedrunning event or anything?
Well, not necessarily. Well, yeah, sort of. It was just like a group relay kind of thing.
Sounds like fun.
But yeah, I didn't expect myself to get into it as much as I did. I mean, obviously looking back now, it's kind of interesting that I'm still speedrunning it, and I did as much as I did, and been, you know, optimizing things and all that stuff.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, man, anyone can get into this game. This game's not all that complicated. Some of the other categories are very glitchy and can be very hard, but there are safety measures and other things that you can do.
Oh my god.
Nice.
I can't believe
Dude.
it.
That item drop is extremely rare.
Yeah. The night suit, dude, going out on the town.
Fabulous. Now the zombie dragon's coming up next. This is the boss that is very hard. Anyone that's played this game knows how hard this boss is. I have fond memories as a kid of just staying on that top platform with like one of the shield spells and just spinning the whip the whole time. But in fighter mode, because you have the levels and the strength, you can very quickly take care of them with the crosses. The struggle in this fight for fighter mode, though, is knowing when to throw your crosses so that you can get as many hits as possible. And the zombie dragons read from RNG very frequently and very often, a real pain to task if you've ever tried, or if anyone would like to know. They move very erratically. But that was an incredibly fast fight.
That was pretty decent. It's probably one of the hardest fights in fighter mode to do fast, for sure.
Easily. It's probably, it's definitely the hardest fight in my opinion to do well. There's just so much that could go wrong, and if you're not prepared for some things, and there are just other little strategies like reducing lag if you can. Just general awareness of what's going on in the fight so that you could reduce lag if that's important. But thankfully that fight, again, because it's fighter mode, there's not a whole lot of risk even if you were to, like, say, run out of crosses and not take them out, because you have so much health and so much defense. If you were to get hit, it's not like it's taking out half of your health like in some other categories.
Yeah, they're hesitant to say whether or not this would be like the most beginner-friendly category, because Empire Killer All Bosses, which is the default mode, the All Bosses category for that is also pretty beginner-friendly. This is one I started out with. It also teaches you pretty much all the glitches, a lot of them which are used for Magician mode. But this is definitely like the most chill category, mainly because of it just looks and feels a lot like a traditional like Castlevania speedrun.
Right, there's no magic, it's just you, the whip, and some weapons.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I mean, I know you and I both warm up with this category whenever we intend to do runs of this game.
Yeah, I usually start with this one. Starting with Magician mode is like, I don't know, it's a little bit too much to take in all at once.
Now we're in the underground warehouse. We're pretty far into the game at this point. There's only 2 more bosses before Dracula now. And we're foregoing fighting one of them for a similar reason as the zombie dragons. We just want to be able to do more damage when we reach him. Some of these fights, it's just a little bit faster to wait until you have more levels, because in fighter mode, each time you level up, you also gain a boosted amount of strength, defense, and health, not just at the start of the game. So each level, you basically get twice the amount that you would normally.
Do you know what song this is?
Never heard of it.
You've told me before it's your favorite one.
Aquarius?
Yeah, this is Aquarius. From Castlevania 3.
I've
Nailed
never
it.
played I legit actually forgot the name of the song.
It's... shoot.
Uh-oh.
Shoot. What is it called? I know it.
Hold on, I'm going on YouTube now.
I know what it's called. What is it called? Drawing a blank.
Called... What's that? No, I can't find it.
Yeah, it's level 4, but I can't remember
Yeah,
the
from
stage
Castlevania
name.
4. No, wait. Clockwork Mansion? No, there's no way. Yeah, Clockwork Mansion.
This isn't Clockwork Mansion.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. It's Clockwork Mansion.
It starts with a C.
Yeah, Clockwork.
Oh, dang it.
Oh yeah, Death dies. He's really good at that.
Somebody please tell me. It's gonna drive me nuts.
I'm telling you, it's Clockwork Mansion.
Yeah, that boss, especially when it comes to using the cross, is great for it because especially that first phase, how he goes back and forth, it's like it's almost designed for the cross.
Great.
Poor guy. Death just kind of melts from all the damage.
Now you might have remembered another handsome man standing next to Nathan at the prologue of this game at the very beginning. And you've seen him a couple other times as well. I wonder what happened to him.
He got lost.
Got lost. This is a pretty big castle. Probably never found Death and went to Camilla first. Some of the movement in this category is a little funny, like taking that portal there is just a little bit faster than walking or running to this section of the outer wall normally. Whereas in Magician mode or any other category where you would have a spell that gives you double the speed, you would just run to it. There's a lot of nuance to the movement in this game, like when I pointing out with the tackle and doing some jumps and some slides off ledges that at face value they may not even seem like they're faster, but over time they add up to seconds here and there, just make a little bit of difference. They even, for some rooms, they even help line up some cycles. The observation tower here is the last section of the game before the final Dracula fights, and it's very hard. There's some RNG with this later section with these dark armors that you have to respond to in order to move quickly, and there's even some of the bad RNG isn't all that bad. You just stop for a moment and just wait, jump over them. So let's see what we get this time. Oh, they're bad. Oh, they're bad.
And some bad boys right there.
This section is especially terrifying in like the Magician mode category. At the high end, you do this without invincibility, and if the cycles don't line up or you're a little slow or you don't respond correctly, you will just die. Thankfully there's, you get the stopwatch, and so that helps with some of the movement. Now, Q is just a little bit more threatening than Iron Golem. He does walk forward very slowly, but he swings a little bit. He's got a few other attacks. But legitimately, this is the fastest strategy for beating him. It's actually really funny and really silly how easy it is to fight this guy. I remember as a kid having so much trouble fighting him.
Yeah, imagine Hugh being a hard boss.
Right. He has several special attacks, and we kind of manipulate one of them. He'll choose to do one of the special attacks based on how far he's blocked at the start of each cycle, or since he's last used a special attack. So if we kind of pay attention to how far he's been going, we can know when he's throwing one out, and just make the fight real easy.
Yeah, it would have been Really nice to know about this manip when I was younger. I also had a lot of trouble with this boss, I remember.
I remember trying to fight this boss for like weeks in shooter mode as a kid. And I like didn't like farming in general. I'm still kind of like that way. And so I only had like the fire shield spell and something else. Which, you know, in hindsight now, the fire shield spell is pretty effective against him if you walk away from him. But man, he was scary when you don't know anything about him. Just like all men. But enough of that. We're going to fight Dracula. We've been waiting for a while now. As the category implies, all bosses also includes Dracula.
Wait, Dracula's a boss?
He's kind of a pushover sometimes, but yeah. I think that's kind of the running gag in Castlevania speedruns. All the bosses are pushovers. The first form of Dracula here is pretty simple. He does the teleporting like you would expect, and he has 3 different attacks. And Darren will throw his crosses appropriately, and hopefully 2 cycle him.
Nah, the first one was bad.
Oh well. I always like the freeze frame when you get hit by one of the electric bats. It looks really cool. As for the second Dracula fight, there is so much about this fight that I wish I could go into, but there's just not enough time specifically. But just know that there's a lot of crosses. Dracula at the start can do 1 of 3 attacks. We're hoping for lasers. Lasers are the fastest, and you can take out the first phase of this fight immediately, basically, if he chooses lasers. But as far as that goes, I'll just kind of be doing commentary as it goes. Come on, lasers. Come on, lasers.
Man.
What? Do you get lasers? Comets are dangerous in this category. There's no way to effectively dodge them without pots buffering. Comets into lasers lowers the pattern. I guess bubbles into lasers is slowest rather, but comets are dangerous. Now, for the second phase, between being vulnerable, Dracula do these charges, and then after between 2 and 4 charges, he will turn into this eyeball surrounded by these bats, and will move in a clockwise motion and send these bats out after you at specific points in the room. And Darren's going to line up these crosses very specifically to try to get the maximum amount of hits, as you know, pretty much what the entire run has been like. But we're getting pretty close to the end here. It doesn't look like a 2 cycle is possible, but time will be coming up very shortly.
Yeah, not quite.
Oh, not 2 charges?
Yeah.
Darren has some pretty amazing luck with this fight sometimes. I'm just always amazed.
There it is.
Good job, man. That's really
Thanks.
solid.
Yeah, I don't know what the time was, but I'm gonna guess it was a late 37, maybe 38.
I think it's a low 38, that's my guess. Oh, 38-13.
Yes. Not bad.
Yeah, that's really solid. The record is 36-30 something. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, I want to say it's 33 or 34, and then I have a 38, 638.
Darren and I are separated by seconds in this category.
Yeah. But yeah, as is tradition, at the end of the game, we get our cliffside scene. Hugh was corrupted in the castle. That's why he fought us. So he's got to begin his training anew. And they're
Maybe
best
next
buddies
time.
again.
Maybe next time he'll get the Twizzler instead of the sword.
Yeah. Maybe it'll have like more than one sword slash in between. Do like a combo slash.
Yeah, like Zangetsu.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's it for us. I appreciate Buckeye for having me yesterday and today. Definitely big thanks to you, Garney, for joining me.
Of
Been
course.
fun.
It's always a lot of fun to do commentary with you.
Yeah, I guess that's it for us. Thank you guys. See ya.
Take care.